Hello everybody and welcome to Quirky Gamers. I am NovaSpark and today I want to bring you one of my decks that I have created on Hearthstone. So if you play a lot of Hearthstone yourself, you'll know that there was a lot of changes recently with the Old Gods expansion launch and the launch of Standard and Wild. And all of the things I used to play don't really work in Standard anymore. A lot of the key cards have gone. So this was the first thing that I managed to come up with in Standard that I actually enjoyed. And it's a Control Murloc Paladin. And that sounds a bit weird, and it is a bit weird. So the cards that made me want to do this are Valfin Inquisitor, which is the new Paladin Murloc card, which changed your hero power to summon Murlocs instead of the boys. I also liked the look of Corrupted Seer. It sounded like it could be quite useful in making a more mid-ranged Murloc deck. And the non-Murloc cards are Steward of Darkshire and Ragnaros Lightlord. So Ragnaros was because it's the coolest card in the set, I think, and I just wanted to use it. So that's why I kind of ended up going for aggro and control, because I wanted to use the new Murloc card, but I also wanted to use Ragnaros, so I was trying to just find a deck that I could use both in. And then Steward of Darkshire I came across in the Brawl just after the expansion dropped, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I had some buff cards that worked on the Paladin hero power, and this came in the Brawl when it gives you random cards, and it just worked really well, so I wanted to try and include it. And there is a lot of 1 health Murlocs, so you've got the Oracle, then you've got the ones from this guy, and the hero power Murlocs that you get, and some of them that can come off Murloc Knight as well can also be 1 health and get buffed by the Steward of Darkshire. So you can end up with a lot of Divine Shields in a game if you get the right setup, and if you sort of draw into some more stuff later on and get a Steward of Darkshire combo off, you can get like 4 or 5 Divine Shields in one go, so it's quite a cool card and I just wanted to try it. So the purpose of the deck, really, aside from just playing cards that I liked, I thought when Old Gods launched that the actual Old God decks were going to be played a lot, and they were. There was Cthulhu and Zoth everywhere, and I thought while we were waiting for the cards that aggro would do really well at dealing with these decks, because they can rush them down before Cthulhu or Zoth or whoever else ever becomes a problem. And the Murlocs do a really good job of this. So I haven't actually got the chargers, but if you get a good start off with the Tidecallers, the Oracles, and the War Leaders, just like any other Murloc deck that you've ever seen, you can end games insanely fast. I think I beat a Warrior on turn 4 and a Mage on turn 3 with just the God draws. So it's got that aspect, and you know, aggro decks can win on 4, 5, 6 as well. And if you get the right start and you know you're against a control-y deck, you can hard mulligan for sort of the early game cards and push the damage early and just try and end it before they can get to Twin Emperors or Cthulhu or anything like that that you don't want to deal with. So that's sort of the bottom end of the deck, and going along with that I chose Argent Protector because it lets you get out a Tidecaller on turn 1 sometimes, and you can protect it on turn 2 and keep it alive a little bit longer. And it's just kind of a good mini-bot replacement, really, because it's still a mini-bot effectively. It's a 2-2 that gives something Divine Shield rather than a 2-2 with Divine Shield. So I think it's quite a good 2-drop anyway to use. So then, if we go to the other end of the deck with the late game stuff, I already said I really wanted to use Ragnaros because he's very, very cool. And this one can attack, and I just love Ragnaros. He's a great character and well. And then obviously, we're playing Paladin, so Turian Fordring, gotta go in the deck. And then I also just threw in Sylvanas for the Cthulhu counter and the Yogg-Saron counter. If you can predict when they're going to play it, you can just completely shut them out of the game with Sylvanas. And also the 2 Corrupted Seers. So I did think this was quite a good card, because it's a bit more of a mid-ranged Murloc. And it's sort of exactly how much it should cost, because Consecration's 4 mana and the 2/3 Cold Light Seer is 3 mana, whereas this is 6 for both. So it's kind of better, and in some situations I do think Consecration is better. So it's kind of a flip between those two cards. But I like having the extra Murloc. It's quite cool. And you know, more buffs are better and stuff like that. And then we also have Anything Can Happen in this deck. There are no charges, so it's not a damage spell. You can't use it to sort of finish out the game if they're really low or something like that. But the reason I put it in was because I did have one last spot and I was looking for something else that would work with the deck. And with the way the old gods work and how people are building their sort of late game decks to build up to one big combo, I thought anything would be quite powerful, because if you can just pull up a board of Murlocs out of nowhere before they launch their Cthulhu or they launch their Yogg-Saron at you, you can save yourself a lot of damage in the late game if like that's your only option. And if you've managed to run them out of resources as well, you can just slam anything and just refill the board instantly, and if they can't clear it, you just kill them next turn. So it has worked out to be quite a good late game card, but I would say that could be swapped out for something else, maybe regular Ragnaros, or I don't know, maybe Leroy if you wanted to be more aggressive on the lower end of the deck. Then in the middle we've got some just generally good Paladin cards. We have Keeper of Older Man, because it's very useful dealing with big stuff of your opponents, and you can use it to buff your own stuff as well, which we've got a lot of little things like playing one of these and buffing it to a 3/3 before it even starts growing is pretty big. Then for draw, I've thrown in a Solemn Vigil, because quite often you're going to be building up a lot of early minions, be they Murlocs or your hero power and sort of Argent Protector and whatnot. And then trading those off to draw more cards to get towards the late game was quite good. And a Lay on Hands, because you could use two Solemn Vigils, I think, but I do feel the mid game of the deck is a bit weak. If you don't get a good Murloc start, and then you sort of go into Keeper of Older Man on your 1/1 hero power, and then maybe a Murloc Knight on 6 and stuff like that, it's not that powerful of a mid game. So Lay on Hand gives you that extra bit of life to keep going and the draw to refill, and if that sort of situation happens in a game, quite often you can Lay on Hands and draw into a lot of different Murlocs and get off quite a big instant board. And as long as you've been able to keep up and sort of deal with their stuff, it works out quite well. And then yeah, Murloc Knight is the other mid-rangey card. Gives you a chance at some charges, so if you've got a good board with War Leader and Oracle on, and you can get the 2/1 charger, you can get a bit of extra damage sometimes, but also it's just kind of refilling the board in the mid game, just trying to keep the tempo up. I think the tempo is very important in this deck. If you get behind, it is fairly difficult to come back. Like the Corrupted Seer helps a lot with coming back, but it is quite difficult to come back in some games. And a Divine Favour for more draw, so it sort of complements the more aggressive half of the deck as well. If you get sort of a lot of 1s and 2s and play them all out, and then the opponent manages to maybe clear them off, you've got Divine Favour to reload. It is a crazy strong card, and I still don't know why they didn't nerf it, but it works in the deck if you get an aggressive start but not quite enough to finish. And then just one equality to combo with the Seers if there's a particularly big board. It's originally that wasn't in the deck, but I ended up putting it in because of a lot of the sort of twin emperors into the Arakoa for druid matchups, and with sort of more mid-range decks they can pump out quite a few minions in the mid game, and being able to just instantly clear everything and not kill your own minions with it, because I'll have Murlocs, so the equality won't really affect me as much. It works out quite well. And then the last card really to talk about is the Valfin Inquisitor, because this completely changes how a lot of it plays out. So rather than your hero power just being kind of a filler, if you've got 2 spare mana or nothing else to do, you just hit the button, get a 1/1. It does have the Murloc tag, which is insanely powerful because it makes every single 1/1 you play a lot more threatening than they normally are. So your hero power is constantly generating threats, because if they leave maybe 2 of these on the board and then you play a War Leader, then that's 6 damage out of nowhere, and you've got 2 good minions, and it can get out of hand very quickly with the Inquisitor. And also it does let you, in the same way Justicar works, you can hero power, play it, and hero power again, so you can get more Murlocs quickly and set yourself up for more combos, which is also quite nice. And it's been quite a solid card. I have been impressed with it. I thought it was going to be quite gimmicky when I decided to try this deck, but it's been very good actually. I'm very impressed with it. Yeah, so that's the deck and the kind of reasoning behind my cards. So if you're gonna have a go at it, in general you kind of just want to hard mulligan for the aggressive stuff, because you can steal games off of any deck if you get the right hand. And then you kind of just need to adapt how you're playing to what you're drawing. So if you're drawing into Tidecallers, Oracles, War Leaders and Seers in the early game, then you're going to be a very aggressive start and you want to be pushing for the damage and taking favourable trades. But if you start with Valfin Inquisitor, Argent Protector, Steward of Darkshire, and sort of lead into Murloc Knights and Seers and stuff, you're going to be playing a much more mid-range style and just trying to get a lot of value out of your cards until you can draw into your big late game stuff or a handful of Murlocs where you can just throw down a massive board out of nowhere. And if you get a hand with Tyrion, Ragnaros and anything can happen, good luck to you, because it's not going to be easy from that hand. It is a very punishing hand, I guess. If you get a lot of the late game cards, there's not often a lot you can do because there's no kind of easy comeback mechanisms with the deck really. You can't just Equality Consecrate, reset the board. You kind of just have to start throwing minions out to just get them to trade so you're not taking so much damage, and hoping you can get to the late game for Ragnaros to heal you up a bit. So that's kind of how it plays out in a lot of different situations. I think it's been quite successful. I played it at the start of the expansion, so it was the last couple of days of the ranked season, and I hadn't played much ranked at all last month, and I went from rank 20 to rank 8 I think in 2 days with this, and I don't really try that hard on ranked. I just like playing decks I find fun, so for me it's been very, very strong, and there's not been many matchups where it's impossible to win, just because of the nature of the deck and how you can put out a lot of damage out of nowhere. So I hope you enjoyed the guide. I hope it might inspire you to give this deck a go, because I've not seen many people playing these new cards. And if you check back on the channel tomorrow, I'm going to upload some actual games with this deck. I'm going to sit and play tomorrow afternoon and just pick out games which demonstrate the kind of points I've gone across in this video. But I kind of wanted to do this bit separately because I know some people just want to see a deck list and know why you've picked the cards and then make judgments about whether they think it's good or try it for themselves or whatever, rather than watching other people play the deck. And some people just enjoy watching Hearthstone, so I thought I'd do these two videos as a kind of separate ones, and then I think that's how I'm going to do any decks that I do come up with. Just one pure video talking about the deck, and then a separate gameplay video for those of you that want to see it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Do like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from us, and leave a comment if you want to give any feedback, if you've tried it, if you thought it was good, or if you made changes that you thought helped. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you guys tomorrow with some actual games.